Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where this time we're going to be talking about what could have possibly happened if the Empire had used the clone troopers instead of the stormtroopers to go into battle against the Rebel Alliance. Now, what we currently know from the Star Wars canon is that the clones were kind of phased out, retired, replaced. The Empire did not want to continue with the potential genetic downfall of these clones. They did not want to continue relationships with the Camino cloners. And so they kind of decided to go cheap with it by recruiting everyday citizens to rise up into the ranks and form the Stormtrooper army. Now, everything we've seen from the original trilogy, we know that the Stormtroopers are not the most competent in battle, constantly missing wide open targets, and just generally not performing as efficient as a military unit as the Empire would probably require them to. Now, there are examples of them being competent and having successful missions, but they're few and far in between. And when you compare that to the Grand Army of the Republic, going back to the Clone Wars, and how clone commanders were able to have many successful missions over the course of the war, formulating battle plans and working side by side with the Jedi to kind of hone their battle skills, hone their ability to emerge victorious in most situations. The clones were an absolute unit, and there were a lot more specialized units, specialized divisions, and a lot more singularity amongst the clones, which kind of gave them an advantage because they weren't mindless droids just marching to their death. And the Republic didn't use them as pawns or cannon fodder quite the way the Empire treats its troopers. So, when you consider those things and then look at the Rebel Alliance, who are more adept to a guerrilla style of warfare, they are a lot more similar to the stormtroopers from the fact that a lot of the rebel troopers are just regular people that have taken up arms in this conflict, and they have been outnumbered and defeated by the Empire on several occasions. One of which being the Battle of Endor, where they likely would have lost if not for the intervention of the Ewoks, but they were outnumbered. And that's one thing that the Empire was not short on was numbers. They were able to recruit a lot of people to sign up to be stormtroopers. Now, if the Empire had continued using the clone army, I don't think the original trilogy would even exist. I think the Rebel Alliance would have been wiped out fairly quickly and fairly efficiently. Could you imagine the 501st at their peak going into battle against the troopers on Endor? It wouldn't matter if you were Han Solo, Chewie, any of these iconic characters that were down on the ground in that battle. I really don't think they would stand much of a chance, unfortunately. And I think it speaks to the greater story of Star Wars as a whole, how one of the Empire's undoings, besides their arrogance and underestimation of what the Rebel Alliance was capable of was the fact that they really did try to cheap out. They did not have the most high grade equipment, the most well trained soldiers. They kind of try to control the galaxy through more of a standpoint of power, both political power and the looming presence of figures like Darth Vader and the Emperor to kind of hold everything in an iron fist. So they didn't necessarily feel the need to have this super hyped up, powerful army. But I think that ultimately worked against them. And when you started to see the rebels scoring significant victories, such as the Battle of Scarif, the Battle of Yavin, you really start to get that picture of the Empire's undoing. So, yes, overall, I do believe the Empire would have won the Galactic Civil War and fairly handily with the power of the clone army behind them. And it's not to diminish too much from the Rebel Alliance, but the Grand Army of the Republic, they were so well trained, they were bred from birth for combat, not to mention the experience of working alongside Jedi. And They just were more organized and efficient as units. The 212th, the 501st, all these different specialized units that were involved in many, many significant conflicts of the Clone Wars. Unfortunately, the Rebel Alliance would be crushed, and fairly quickly. So that is my conclusion to that statement. I believe it would not go well for the Rebels. Not to say they wouldn't win a few battles here and there, but I believe if the Empire had found a way to keep the clones from rapid aging and degenerating a bit and had been able to use them, I think the story of Star Wars would have turned out much differently. Now, with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below about what you think about all this. And what other factions in the Star Wars universe do you think would make an interesting matchup with each other? This was fun to think about. Is I love the clones. I am a prequel fan because that's what I grew up with. And while I do respect the Rebel Alliance quite a bit, I just don't think they would win this battle. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you watching the video. If you liked the video, make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button. Don't miss out on any of the Star Wars content we do over here. And as always, may the force be with you. Now let's blow up that like button and go home.